Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Action. We are here for, of course, Tier 2 Division. It is the 17th round of Season 3, and joining me, as always, is Unicorn. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Jeff. I'm looking forward to yet another Russian GP. It's been pretty good so far, and I don't see the Tier 2 Division disappointing here. And we've got that tight battle up at the front of this grid with Kai versus Domi, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that one plays out here this evening.
Third Grand Prix of the week around Russia now. We've had the EU on Tuesday. You and I did that, and then I was solo this morning, very early on my end, for the Oceanic Division, which saw a very explosive race finish given the late safety car. Now we're here for Tier 2. Of course, we've got Tier 1 coming up again later this evening, and then Club Division tomorrow. Let's take a look at the circuit. Russia, Sochi, 18 turns. It's tight. 5.8 kilometers, 3.6 miles, of course. 2 DRS zones, as well as quite a few 90-degree turns here. And I think enough space for quite a bit of wheel-to-wheel battling, maybe too much wheel-to-wheel battling. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at, of course, the calendar. As we are approaching the end of Season 3, we have quite a few rounds left. We're not just at the end, but we are nearing it. We are here for round 17 out of 22, of course. The Japanese Grand Prix coming up next week. I am very excited for Suzuka, I have to say. Of course, the US GP after that, Mexico, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi. Following Abu Dhabi, we move into the teams. Yes, of course, that's the Oceanic Division. This is the Tier 2 Division, my mistake. Now, we take a look at Kai Bacchini and Cotters over at Mercedes. We have Yasko and Scars for Ferrari. Gadwin and Liam over at Red Bull with Little Bear and Matteo for McLaren. That's Ali Avci and Undertaker for Renault. We have Adrian and Wisp for AlphaTauri. Darian Alfie and Extreme for Racing Point with Max and B and Cjoss at Alfa Romeo. Crampy and Henners for Haas with Domi and Squid over at, of course, the Williams team, rounding out the racers in this one. Now let's take a look at the standings. Domi off to quite the comfortable lead now in first position in the Drivers' Championship. Kai Bacchini there in second with Liam hot on his heels, of course. The reigning Tier 2 champion, the Canadian, there in third in the Red Bull. Williams leading the championship, Mercedes second, and Red Bull third, following their respective top 3 drivers. Now, of course, Matteo receiving 2 penalty points and a 5-second time, added to his time following Singapore. So this saw him demoted from a race win in his debut to, unfortunately, P2. This put Domi into a race win position. Multiple drivers receiving penalty points last week, and let's try and keep it clean here around Sochi. It's already been quite the eventful week. Of course, those that checked in with the Oceanic Division earlier today will know all about it. But with that being said, Unicorn, I do believe we are ready to go racing here around Sochi.
Yep, I think you just need to set yourself to spectate, and we should be all good. And then we do have 20 drivers, though. But yes, we are full, and only one reserve as well, so pretty much the entirety of the full grid here, which is
Love
always
to see it.
Exactly.
So for those in the chat, for those of you that have been following along with the season of action, let us know, who are your favorites today for Russia? Who do you want to see on the podium? Who do you have on pole? Who is your pick for pole position? Let us know in the chat, of course. We are here into qualifying now. And with this qualifying session, we'll be able to see the weather. It's sunny here at the moment. See if rain comes into play in the weather forecast, but it is a dynamic roll of the dice in all of these races. 18 minutes is the duration they have to qualify around here in Sochi. I do believe there is some kind of desync. I don't see the names above the garage. Kind of an see if it happens to fix it.
Yeah, I can see the names, but again, we have seen it time and time again where we join into qualifying a minute or so before everyone else, so I just have to be a little bit patient with the lobby here, but yeah, like you said, looking very clear. No rain in sight I don't think we've seen rain. We haven't seen rain this week. Whether we see it this evening, in either of the races or tomorrow,
Domi
I
has
think it could
just
provide a
said
very interesting dynamic.
we're going to have a dry campaign. Apparently we do have a delay, but there is a driver out. We'll go down through this grid with you now. Who is the first driver out going to be? That is going to be Squid in the Williams. First driver out around the Sochi Autodrome circuit here. Now, Maxim B, Undertaker F, Kai Bacchini, Cactus is reserving today. His first reserve performance that we are going to have from the Albanian in the Renault today. So this will be his first official MRL race. Welcome. It is a very intense grid. Extreme there in Racing Point CJOS. We have Adrian, Scars, as well as Domi, Mateo, Cotters, Liam, Wisp, Gadwin, Henners, Crampy, Squid, Darian Alfie, Yasko, and of course Little Bear back in the McLaren. Seen him take a few good points finishes this season. He had a very outstanding drive. I think it was Vietnam we saw him doing a lot of overtaking.
Indeed, just going back to the weather, there's a little bit of an update. We are saying dry qualifying and a dry race, but they're apparently rain at the end of the race.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
and
please.
if we see a safety car, it could be pushed even further into the race. So, rain at the end of the race is possibly the most dynamic form of rain you can get because of safety cars. It can be very unpredictable. So this is shaping up to be a very interesting race as Squid lines up to take the first qualifying lap in the dry conditions.
Down through. This is turn one here. We got to remember this. That little groove where he just went through, that's turn one. This is turn two, and we're going to be saying it a lot.
Yeah, turn two. Such a hot spot for the action around here into this long turn three where I'm sure we're going to see a few drivers go side by side. And then start the parade of 90-degree corners that are so symbolic of what Russia is, this track. There's a few complaints from some people with the
a few, eh?
The 90-degree corner nature of it.
Just a few. Good now. DRS wide open on the rear wing. Just tight to the wall here, Unicorn. Now he's switching back to the other wall, having that outside entry through that apex. This is a tricky bit of circuit, that understand section coming out of that straight.
Yeah, we've seen it before. It's so hard to overtake as well through here. So through qualifying, not the driver's worst nightmare, but during that race when they're side by side with each other, that's when it really becomes struggle. Squid opening with a 1:31.6 and Henner's following with an almost identical time.
Cactus.
0.02 of a second.
Cactus crossing a 1:32 flat here in his first lap. Adrian jumps into pole position provisionally now with a 1:30.8. Next across the line is going to be Kai Bacchini, a 1:30.769. Just 300ths ahead of the AlphaTauri. Crampy, a 1:30.9. CJOS is in there, a 1:31.1.
Domi, he's about to cross the line. It's going to be a 1:30.3 for the Williams, 0.4 faster than Kai Bacchini. Very strong time from him.
Very, very impressive time out of the Williams. Unsuccessful in Singapore last week, however, except until the penalty. Maxim B crossing second. The penalty, of course, I brought up in the pre-show. Mateo was the winner of that race. However, the penalty that, he was given post-race for crossing pit entry Saw him back into P2, and Domi collected the win as a result.
Speaking of Mateo, both he and his teammate have just invalidated their current flying laps. So that's a good way to get yourself penalties during the race. Darren Alfie on a flyer.
Things are going to get real tight in this grid. We've only got the first lap from all of these drivers in here so far, and the gap from first down to 7th is a second. Quite a few drivers with some serious pace, not even getting laps across yet. Going to be one heck of a race, I think, here around Sochi with the dynamic that has been given to us by the Cody's gods, if you will, the Code Masters. Hope that's the only curveball they throw at us today. Weather.
Yeah, and Darren Alfie's he's also invalidated for a very similar part of the track through that turn 9 left-hander. Just running a little bit too wide there, so some people have been struggling with the track limits around here a little bit.
His teammates just had a major issue. We were riding along. Extreme was coming down through into that second DRS zone. And, oof. I think he took a little bit too much, or maybe powered out a little too early there, but that is a major amount of damage. Mateo is flying not too far behind in that McLaren. Not entirely sure if he'll be able to cross here. He's got that low fuel light on.
Yeah, we've already seen him do one flying lap, but it's not the end of the session, so whether he's tried the low fuel run on the first attempt, and actually hasn't, he's going again. He might run out of fuel on the in lap. But he rounds the final corner. He is going to set a time here. A bit too heavy on the throttle, or out of it. It's still the fastest lap we've seen, a 1:29.7. Very impressive from him, but
he was pushing so hard, he pushed himself into a near terminal retirement.
Yeah, very lucky to get away with that one. He's not unscathed, but he's able to go again at the end of the session and try and improve what is already a very impressive lap time, 6/10 clear of Domi.
Could you imagine he had done that, let's say at the end of the session, and there were cars coming back around, you know, to finish their laps, except you can't really do it in Russia, can you? Because the line's right there. But if you go and let's say the line's a few more car lengths ahead, that can really cause some problems. You know, I think back to over the course of time when drivers have, you know, maybe got their car stuck in a wall to impede a lap or something like that. I'm not pointing out anything in particular, but I'm just, you know, it happened.
Well, I mean, if he'd have spun it when, you know, everyone's coming out for the flyers and someone's about to start a flying lap and there's a McLaren spinning away in the start-finish straight, wouldn't certainly be ideal for those behind him, but he hasn't impeded anyone, so get away with it. He has run out of fuel as well, so he is trundling under 100 miles an hour right now.
Gadwin in the Red Bull, he's flying, coming down through turn 3. And he is a driver who we have not yet get a time on the board. We haven't seen him get anything on the board yet. I think he had one run. I don't think he was been out twice. Little Bear is also flying. Not too far behind.
Yeah, a lot of people just started flyers. Kai Buccini, Adrian, Crampy, Joss, all in his guys currently in the top 10, looking to fight their way up the timing tower, get themselves in a higher position. But Kai Buccini has had an absolute huge mistake. He's taken a little bit too much through turn 2. It's jumped him off the curb and he's spun straight into the wall. He's lucky to get away with... It was worse than Mateo's crash, and he suffered a lot of wing damage, but I think he's going to have time to get that changed and
Gadwin
back into the pits.
Just had a big slide out in that Red Bull now, coming through the penultimate turn, and he corrected it fairly well. We'll see what it did to his time, though. It's still good for P7, which tells me he's got a heck of a lot more in that Red Bull.
yeah, a few people seem to be running. Either their setup is just a little bit touch and go, and just trying to get as much speed out of the car as possible, or they're just pushing so very hard in this qualifying session. But right now, we've seen a few mishaps here in qualifying, and that, if that continues into the race, a few people might be leaving this evening disappointed with how they've done.
Both the Racing Points yet to set times. Extreme is currently flying. Darian's about to get into his first flyer. Well, hopefully his first lap set here. He's just coming through the final turn now while Extreme comes into the DRS straight. And we'll see. Ooh, he just runs it wide, Unicorn. Blown it.
Well, that's not the first time he's invalidated here this evening, and not only is this impeding his qualifying runs, but if he keeps doing it in the race, he's going to land himself with double digits worth of penalties as Domi improves by half a second, or just under half a second. Not quite getting to Matteo's time, but he's got a hell of a lot closer than he was just a few moments ago. Squid, his teammate, jumps into 5th place as well.
Yeah, very fast time out of him for sure. Stream is in his... He's coming back into the pit lane now. We still got some time left in this session. There's a bit of a desync. I'm assuming we have around 6.5 minutes left, give or take a couple of seconds. And Darian's now coming into where we saw Extreme invalidate. We'll see if he does the same. So far, so good. No red track map as of yet. And he's got that DRS wide open on the rear wing as we move down through the straight. He's hugging this right-hand wall. Now he switches back to the left hand. He wants to get that optimal entry into the right-hander here. It was a little deep, maybe. I don't know. That was... He recovered it pretty good. I don't know if that was intended. It looked like he might have extended a bit there, but now he comes down through, kissing that inside curb. Once again, on the exit.
It's a tricky bit of circuit to get right this Sector 3, and I think it's deceptively tricky. And it's a 131.1 for the Racing Point, but everyone mocks it, 90-degree turns and all of this, but that entrance down into turn 13 is very hard to get bang on, and Darian, like you said, recovered it well. Whether we're going to see him have another pop it out a bit later on in the session, he's got time to get back to the pits, get out for one last run.
Well, there's a ton of racers in the pit lane right now. I think everybody is... Mikau always brings it up. He says it's that calm before the storm. And it really is, because now these guys are all going to get out. The circuit's going to be congested, and I think that pressure is going to cause a couple more invalidations here. This circuit is really difficult for these racers to nail because you got flat curbs. You're trying to utilize a lot of the limits, and this circuit is vicious. Henner's now flying. He's coming down through turn 3. In the Haas, he's got a 131.6 on the board. We know he's quicker than that, so we'll see what he's able to put across in the number 45 car, and he's put it across all right. There's a big spin coming out of the Englishman, and he is not going to be thrilled about that here with 3.5 minutes remaining on our clock. Oof.
Another spin. It's happening to a lot of drivers out there right now, and it's something we don't want to see carry on into that race. So maybe it is just because it's qualifying and people are pushing as hard as they can, and one man who is definitely pushing as hard as they can right now is Matteo, currently top of the leaderboard. Now pushing into Sector 2, looking to decrease his time further, and he is fully utilizing the curbs, but he's doing it within the parameters that he's allowed to, and obviously that is exactly what everyone else is fighting to achieve.
Potters right now, I'm not entirely sure if he's finishing on an in-lap or if he's flying here. It seems like he's flying.
Yeah, I was a bit confused. He set a faster flying lap time, but like you said, he's gone around again, so I'm not quite sure what he's doing.
Yeah, he's on his way in here.
Ooh. Into the final sector.
I just checked in with Undertaker for a brief second, and I have to say he just got absolutely done dirty on his way around turn 3.
Into the pits.
Yeah, Mateo's done his lap as well. Gap to P2 right now between him and Domi. 125. So you got a tenth and a bit there. Sejoss 7/10 behind Mateo. 7/10. So this is going to be a unique fight, and he's got a lot of company. He has a lot of company here.
Yeah, this midfield is super tight right now. There's a 10th between, what is this, 4th and 8th. So those guys, if that continues into the race, that's what we want to see. That is going to be some very exciting battling if all 5 of those drivers are wheel to wheel for a substantial amount of time. Kai Vicini going down through sector 2 into turn 12 and 13. He's almost 3/10 up on his previous best time, and that would put him into fighting range of Sejoss. And if he can find some time through sector 3, can he go and find his championship rival in Domi to knock him down off of the front run of the grid? Domi on an outlap as well, so he feels like he's got improvement there. Can he take pole at the end of the session? But it's Kai Vicini, a 5/10 improvement. It's not enough for P2, but it is going to secure P3 quite nicely for him at the moment. But those guys we were just talking about in that midfield, all of them on outlaps at the moment, and this qualifying session is about to get very, very exciting here, Strif.
Liam's just crossed into P10 ahead of his teammate. There's a Ferrari that's just began a lap behind him. That's Yasko. Quite a few other drivers on laps presently. Look to find Gadwin, who's invalidated, unfortunately, and we have Extreme out. But it would appear he's invalidated and not on a lap. He is not having a good time in that racing point today at all. Little Bear's on an out lap, doing something.
Well, Yasko's 1/10 up through the first sector. He needs to find a bit more than that if he wants to gain a significant amount of position, but that's an invalidation for the Ferrari. So Yasko finished starting no higher than 16th here this evening. This qualifying is over.
Sejoss is flying. About to make his way through into the DRS straight. And one thing here is I think he might be the lead flyer right now.
But I'll tell you who's not the lead flyer. Domi's just invalidated his lap, so he will not be starting this race on pole. And that leaves him very vulnerable to the likes of Sejoss. Squid's invalidated as well. And like you said, this pressure seems to be getting. Adrian's invalidated.
Little Bear's had an issue. He's around. We just saw him with Sejoss moving on by.
Sejoss needs to find some time in his final sector. He's not too big of an improvement for the first 2. But it is enough. It is enough to knock Kai Vicini down, and his teammate Maxime B improves as well. Can the 2 Haas drivers follow suit? Henry will be first. Crampy currently sitting in 6th place. What can the pair of these guys do? Cutters as well. He's about to run the final corner. It's looking like a strong time from him. It's a 1:31 flat. It is an improvement, a 1/10 for 1.
Enters P8 from him, a 9/10 improvement. The Haas now 1:30.7.
Crampy though not being quite so fortunate. He really slid it around the final corner.
Ooh, Mateo, a 1:29.678, further extending his fastest lap here. To slam that door shut on qualifying is the Frenchman, of course, driving the McLaren today. I think that is the qualifying done and dusted.
Yeah, I was about to say he didn't need to do that lap time, but he's done it, and it definitely proves a point.
Well,
he's here to win and do nothing but that.
Penalties kind of robbed him of a Singapore victory last week. Now he's here to make a statement, it would seem, and making a statement, well, we'll have to see how things go come race time. So, Matteo in the McLaren, a 129.678, the pole time here for Tier 2, will be leading things away. Off the line, Domi in second. We have Sijos in third with Kai Bacchini fourth, Maxim B fifth. And that is, of course, we will go down through the rest of the grid on the formation lap here in this one. Sunny, expecting rain. Nice and doom and gloom in the sky, intimidating those drivers, making them check with their engineers when that rain is coming. We have Jeff on board as always. Now, of course, if you are just checking out the stream, welcome in. Of course, my name is Strifium. Joining me from the UK is Unicorn. You're here for round 17 of Tier 2 Misfits Racing League action. Oh, it's Russia, and it is going to be a very, very interesting race if the past 2 rounds of the week have been anything to go by, Unicorn.
Yeah, and especially if we do see that rain at the end. I think the rain is going to come. When we say the end, I think we're talking the last couple of laps. And depending on how heavy it is, that kind of rain can sometimes be the worst because you don't want to pit for intermediate tyres. It's almost pointless, but because you're on the dries, if on that final lap there's enough surface water that it becomes a problem, you can see what looks like the finishing order that may be set in stone. You may think that it's over. There could be a 10-second gap between the leader and second place. But if that wet weather at the end comes in and hits this track hard, it can make for a very interesting finale to this race. And if qualifying was anything to go by, that midfield battle as well, rain or shine, is going to be very, very tight.
Well, tricky thing is you have Liam and Gadwin. The 2 Red Bulls are up to something here today, Unicorn. They're both the only 2 drivers on this grid opting for the hard compound tires, so something's coming out of that camp. We have pretty well the rest of this grid in the back 10 on mediums. We've got Undertaker and Little Bear with the curious choice to go on the softs. And of course, the rest of the top 10 on the starting compound, the softs from qualifying.
The hards there, if they're anticipating the rain, the hards can pretty much go the entire length of this race. We saw Ifalipich do a very, very long stint earlier this week in the EU grid. So if they think the rain is going to be heavy enough for the pit at the end of this race, then the hard compound tyre could fare them very well. If they're mistaken, then I think those hard tyres are going to be a bit detrimental to them. No one really uses them outside any tyres outside the mediums and the softs because the one stop around here is so doable.
Of course, once again, Matteo, Domi, Sijos, your top 3 here. Kai Bacchini, Maxim B, 4-5. We have Crampy, Squid, Henners, Adrian, and Scars rounding out the top 10 racers here for round 17. We have Liam, Cotters, Gadwin, Darian Alfie, Wisp, Cactus, Yasko, Undertaker, as well as Extreme and Little Bear on the grid today as well. So it is going to be a very, very tight matchup. These tire compounds are definitely going to play with things. And of course, for those wondering about Darian Alfie, the DSQ, I do believe it was just some kind of contact here on the formation lap, but he will be racing, of course. No worries. Well, Unicorn, it's time. Lights are coming on. Take us away.
Here we go. The 5 red lights. All the engines are revving up here as we get set to go around Sochi here. And there we are away here for the Russian Grand Prix. It looks like Domi has had an excellent start. Kai Bacchini, not so much. Domi instantly into the slipstream of Matteo. He's looking to go down towards turn 2. The Alfa Romeos, that's Sijos and Maxime B. They're having toe-to-toe battles with the 2 house drivers. It's Domi up into the lead around the outside. And Kai Bacchini's going to have a look at Matteo as well. Up the inside through this long left-hander of turn 3. Sijos and Hennes still locked in combat as well. But it is Matteo looking around the outside of Domi. Kai Bacchini's got an excellent look on this. Matteo wide, Domi still in first place, hanging on to with his dear life. And it's Kai Bacchini on the inside of the McLaren. Can he get this place done? Is Matteo going to lose 2 places on this opening lap, or is he going to be able to hold on to that second place contact? And that's Kai Bacchini spinning around into the path of everyone else, and he's collected. I think that's the Alfa Romeo of Maxime B. It is. He's got significant damage, and he's having trouble with Kai's team. And there's a Williams squids out of this race.
Ooh, what a race start this has been here, Unicorn. That was absolute madness, pure intensity between those guys. Just a tight, looked like just a little bit of contact there, bringing the car around. We have a VSC out as a result now. Kai Bacchini still in this race. Of course, the VSC was deployed, then Squid retired, so we're not entirely sure what happened. Of course, stewards will review the onboards later on, but we are back to green flag racing here. Crampy within half a second of CJOS at the moment, and here's one thing. There's a lot of damage on those cars in the midfield, so that we're going to see a lot of pit stops coming through here. Liam right now, wheel to wheel. That's Cotters now, around the outside holding 7th. Maxim B into the pit lane. There goes Adrian behind him. Liam with a good run on Cotters here. Crampy on CJOS as well.
Yeah, not quite going to get the Alfa Romeo down into turn 2, but these guys, they're laying in wait. It's a long race. There's a lot of action, but that was all just lap 1. We've still got 26 left to go. So these races, a lot of them would have seen that incident. It might have, woken them up a little bit.
I think it might have calmed everything down a bit.
But yeah, I think they all realised that these races, they're not a sprint, they are a marathon. They may only be 50%, but that's still a long time to get past someone, still a long time to make an error, and Cotters almost letting his rear get away from him, and that's cost him some time to Liam, who is getting pretty close to him regardless, and DRS isn't even in play yet, so Mercedes needs to be a little bit careful.
Bacchini has come in. He's gotten onto a set of hard compound tires. He was in such an early battle for the lead of this race. It was a very, very high adrenaline battle, and it resulted in a spin, and really it ended up in the end for that. Kai was basically a passenger. Not really much you can do on the opening lap when the entire field is charging behind you.
Yeah, you got to feel for Maxime as well. Not a lot he could have done to avoid that opening contact as well, but that's racing sometimes. And
Undertaker real quick there, Unicorn. He is in a volley for 10th position. He wants that final point. Wisp and him both have DRS. You lunge to the inside here. No, we do not. Undertaker holding position for the moment. On the outside with a great exit. He's on softs, of course, versus these mediums right now.
Yeah, like you said, this collision does seem to have calmed everything down just a little bit. Not too many people. It's also jumbled the tyres up as well. The 2 Red Bulls on those hards. They're now in the mid-pack. They're 8th and 9th. They're no longer outside that top 10. And that's an interesting dynamic, because obviously you got Liam on the rear of Cotters, but his tyre performance right now is going to be nowhere near as effective as the mediums of Cotters. So we're going to see a lot of long fights here, but it is Cotters under attack from Liam in the Red Bull. I wasn't expecting it so soon, but he's gone up the inside of turn 13, and he's got that place pretty much locked down, holding that outside line, which is really beneficial into 15, and Liam up into 7th place. A very nicely timed move, but Cotters is going to have presumably traction out of the final corner as well as getting DRS, so
I think these hard runners on the grid right now are in for a real treat. If Liam and Gadwin are at this position in the grid already with these hard compound tires, now Cotters for the moment, yeah, sure, he'll get Liam back with the DRS. Of course, now Gadwin's going to be able to catch things up, and instead now, next time they go down the DRS straight, instead of 1 Red Bull, I think it's going to be 2 that the Mercedes has to worry about in this one, Unicorn.
As well, if Liam can keep doing that and just surprising Cotters with moves like that, and Cotters obviously, he's battling for position here. He wants to just stay ahead, but we know, we've seen it before, that battling does increase tyre wear, and if Liam can just play this game out, if he doesn't need to pit at the end for wets,
There's been an issue.
There's an issue.
Yeah, Gadwin's had a spin. Gadwin's had a spin. What has happened to him? Does he have any damage on the front right wing? Because he's got nothing on the left. Yeah, he's missing an end plate and some good portion of that wing there on the front right, so he's not going to be too thrilled. The strategy that was playing so well now has been somewhat undone for him. Things at the front now. Sejoss has made his way into third position. Henner's had a bit of an issue before we got it, well, just as we were coming through Sector 2. We saw it while we were on board with the Alfa Romeo. Now he's ahead of the Haas.
Yeah, Mateo's closed up big time to Domi as well, so the front really just got spiced up a little bit.
Henner's now looking around the outside of Sejoss. DRS and that battery in full utilization, but the other Haas is there as well now. Crampy getting his nose in, has made it past both of them, and there goes Sejoss. Yeah, but he has no damage. He's got no damage. Does he get it back around? Is there traffic coming? He's lost it to Scars. He's going to lose it to a few more here. Cotters, Liam, Undertaker moving all ahead, and Wisp is around the inside now as well. Wow, that's really cost him there.
Well, I said in qualifying, these drivers, they're either driving really hard or the setups are just a little bit unbalanced on a few of these cars, and it would have pinned. And it's the setups, because we're only on lap 5 and we've seen multiple incidents that, like, Sejoss there was obviously he'd just been overtaken, but he was all on his own when he span.
This makes me so excited for Tier 1, I have to say. It's a fantastic race we're watching here. There's a lot of drama unfolding here, spins and things like this. It's really scattered a lot of the fast runners around through this grid. I mean, you've got Kybachini and Gadwin in 18th and 19th right now. Maxim just ahead of them. Adrian's there as well, all on those early stops.
Liam and Cotters, they're side by side. They're in Sector 3 again, and Liam putting him under pressure, and it's Undertaker in the Renault on the softs. He's well and truly here. Cotters has gone deep, and that's going to cost him not only to Liam, but I think Undertaker as well. If Undertaker can get the run here, he has got the run out of 16. He's going to have the outside around 17. And Cotters just trying to find a gap in this train, because there's an Alpha Tauri of Wisp. Wisp's here. Ready? There's so many people here. A mistake is going to cost you a huge amount of positions. Hennes is going up the inside of Crampy. The Haas is exchanging once again, and Henry back into that third place. And this race has just been non-stop
Darian
from the
Alfie
start.
getting that final points position just ahead of them. There's a wheel-to-wheel exchange. That is going to be Liam and Undertaker now. Sejoss holding off the racing point for the time being. What a good defense from him, but it's Undertaker and Liam still exchanging, looking for 6th position. Liam holding it for the time being. Yasko has made it ahead of Darian Alfie. What a ton of intensity.
Wisp just had to do some late braking to avoid Sejoss passing him, and these battles are going on everywhere. Liam and Cotters having a little bit of a snap, looking to try and get past Undertaker, but
well, Undertaker just made a very smooth move from Liam. He just got it from Liam now. So Liam's now on the back foot and needing to get it back. They're both going to have DRS on the Renault. Cotters is so tight to the rear of this Red Bull. I think he's going to have a look down the inside here. Unicorn on the mediums now. Looking to the inside. He holds off. He's got the Alpha Tauri right behind him.
Yeah, there's been contact. Sejoss, I think, hit Wisp. Oh, and he's hit Cactus on the rejoin. And Cactus has got some serious damage. Both cars needing to spin themselves around now. But, yeah, I think what we just saw, Sejoss, I think, tap the rear of Wisp, who was looking out on the outside of Cotters, and that was almost very, very bad. We got another VSC as a result of that incident, and I think Domi and Hennes are going to be thankful for that, because Mateo and Crampy were getting pretty close before that came in.
You got Domi's race engineer in the chat complaining that he's not getting enough camera time. There's not too much going on. He's holding Mateo off quite well, okay? You're doing a good job there, Jake.
I think he would have got some camera time there had that VSC not come out. I think Mateo was just about getting ready to mount an attack to try and retake that first place, but the VSC saving us in this midfield battle is just so tense right now. Actually, incredible racing going on these guys as Wisp.
What a mugging that was, wasn't it? Cotters is not going to be thrilled about that, and I'll be surprised if Wisp doesn't get shown an illegal overtake, as it was right on the wire. Now Undertaker and Liam just ahead are engaged, and now it's... What a train we have here in Russia. Darian Alfie has dropped to his teammate of Extreme, Maxim B, hunting down Adrian. And these drivers are in somewhat of a train. He's got Yasko 1.2 seconds behind him on fresh hards.
Oh, Mateo's just had a little bit of a... He's had to correct his car, and that is not what he wants going into the first DRS zone of the lap. So that's cost him a bit of time to Domi, and Domi is excellent at just hammering out of that last corner, and you can see he's just, even with DRS, Mateo's not gaining anywhere near as much as you would expect down this start-finish straight. Meanwhile, Crampy really displaying what DRS is capable of and is breezing past his teammate. Crampy up into the podium positions.
Well, these two are doing a really good job of playing the teammate game right now over at Haas. They are training each other one after another, just taking each position back and forth. I would not be surprised if we didn't see it again, but Henders has to be careful with getting into the wall there. Falling asleep at the wheel is the Haas. There goes an end plate, and that, I think, just threw that strategy out the window. Scars is going to be catching up to that.
Yeah, Kodos nearly did it similar. Managed to avoid the wall, but definitely went wide, and there's going to be a lot of dirty air in this train for 6th place right now.
Teo now with a run, looking at Domi. He's got the DRS, but he's not utilizing a massive amount of that battery.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to mount such a huge lunge down into that turn 13. It's very risky. And
speaking of lunges, there's a lunge from Adrian up the inside of turn 4, and he's gone around. Very unfortunate for him.
This race has a lot of will-to-will action, and drivers have been getting very, very close to each other all throughout this race, and Connor's really feeling the effects, it would seem, of this dirty air. Henner's into the pits. He's replacing that damaged front wing after his trip into the barrier.
He's very fortunate because this is around the time these softs really begin to die now. As soon as we get to around that 9-10 lap range, you'll see these drivers come in and pit off of these softs because they just lose so much time to these medium runners behind, and we're seeing it right now with Cotters and Wisp. They are catching up quite well. Well, they're keeping up quite well with these soft runners. I mean, Liam is on hards right now in P5. Let's take a look at the position changes. He started this race in 11th position. Undertaker started it in 12th, and he's just been grinding on his set. So you know they're nearly done.
Mateo again, he's going to have DRS on Domi, but I think he's just biding his time. But the thing is, the ERS charge on these cars is vastly different. Domi, over 60%. Mateo down in the teens, so...
Cavicini's had an issue. He is spun, he's getting a wing repair, and he's going on to some medium compound tires. A very interesting strategy from him now, going on to those medium compound tires. We'll have to see what happens. Safety cars are still in play, of course. We aren't that far into this race. We're only a third of the way through now as Domi is going for the undercut here, Unicorn. He has blinked and gone in. Mateo now really needs to push. Really needs to push here.
The undercut right now, I think is a little... It's either going to work out very well, or it's going to be very risky. And I don't say that because of what the track position is now, but if we see rain at the end of this race, it's either going to work out well because he's going to have nailed the time for the pits to switch the inters, or it's going to be very risky because his tyres are going to be more worn than Mateo's when this track starts to get wet and they don't have time to pit for those inters. And worn tyres on a wet track that are made for dry compound racing, not what you want to be on. So the undercut right now, a little bit risky, I think.
Wisp is in a good position right now, as are all of these harder compound runners. Domi, however, in this train of cars, he's come out in 6th position. Here we go with the move up the inside. Now he's looking at Cotters. Cotters extends very far off there. And this obviously allows Domi into 5th position. Now he's got Wisp in his sights.
Strifium Liam as well. 3rd place right now on those hard compound tyres. He is going to play a major role in this race, I think, and it'll be very interesting to see where he ends up when we get the checkered flag. And here goes Domi. Again, those fresh tyres, DRS, just full utilization. Domi not hanging about here. He wants as many positions as he can get, and already back into 4th after pitting from the lead. His rival, Matteo, in that pit lane now.
This is the big,
Has Domi put in
question. Yeah, is he going to get out?
Matteo, his pit stop's done. Domi into the penultimate corner. Scars is in as well. Domi's definitely going to beat him out.
He's got traffic here.
Domi's left. I think his game's crashed.
Well, this is going to play in well for Matteo here. But Matteo was in fact successfully undercut, and he's going to come out in traffic behind Domi to give him an opportunity to get back into this. And I do know he's been having some issues, but there we have him getting back into that car. And I'll just say it now, we may see a glitch in the timing tower later on at the finish of this race as a result of that. We've seen it happen many a time, but the pit stops now are coming through. 4 drivers in this race have yet to come in, and that is, of course, Liam, Wisp, Cotters, and Extreme in this race, yet to come in for fresh rubber. Gadwin presently hunting down Adrian, coming down into turn 2. However, holding station, not getting too ahead of himself down into the turn. Great patience being shown from Gadwin here. There's been an issue with Yasko.
Yeah, the Ferrari. Very much pointing the wrong way. No damage, though. Just about getting out of the way of Sejos. Almost colliding with the Alfa Romeo on his rejoin. As Scars and Extreme, they're having a little bit of an exchange down the 2nd DRS straight. And Cotters, Wisp and Matteo, they're having a fight. Wisp and Cotters, a little bit of contact between the two. Matteo's up into 3rd. He's got the better of both of them. And he is now free to go and chase down Domi, as it appears Yasko has had another issue, still spinning those tyres. Very much overheated, I would imagine, on that Ferrari.
Fortunately, when Domi rejoined, I lost my intervals, and we're just getting the tower now repopulated, and it is Crampy hunting down the racing point of Extreme here. Cotters, Wisp still in that train behind Matteo. Here we have it, Crampy up the outside, clear ahead of the racing point down into turn 2, and it's Henners who has recovered quite well considering where he was and the fact that he did have to get a wing change now around the inside. Extreme has now lost out to 2 Hasses inside of a turn.
Yeah, like you said earlier, the Haas drivers working super well together, it would seem. Crampy and Henners. They haven't been teammates for long, but they seem to have gelled pretty quickly.
Domi now is hunting down Liam. He has that DRS. It's clear cut for the Williams now. Moving to, of course, the outside line for the next turn. It's a smooth move into lead of this race for Domi. Not much Liam can
he's
do.
done that as well. Because Matteo right now 1.7 seconds out the... Although he might get DRS here on Liam. The detection zone is just before turn 1. Liam on the hard compound tyres. Might get caught. It's going to be close. And Liam with a kick out through the final turn as well. So this is going to be music to Matteo's ears, but I think he's just about missed it. I think he's just missed the timing line.
He definitely missed it. Here we have Cotters now and Wisp exchanging. Cotters now with a smooth move up into 4th position, utilizing that DRS. Of course, Wisp not having the DRS at the moment. He will in a moment, though, if he's able to keep up with this Mercedes, but they've got to worry about some cars not too far behind as Scars and Crampy are about to battle. Here we have Wisp on the inside. Cotters extending there.
Yeah, Cotters has been going wide for a few of these corners when under a bit of pressure. So again, I don't know if it's just saying that, you know, there's a few long straights that you really need that overtaking prowess around, but I think a few people here might be running just a little bit too few on the wings, and it's costed them. Matteo is going to be having a look at Liam. He's going to be doing something very similar to what we saw Domi do. He's passed for second place. And the two Hasses have scars in their sights.
Took him an entire lap to get by Liam there. 2 seconds the gap to the leader now in Domi. We'll see what he's got up his sleeve, Mr. Matteo, but it is going to be crampy, looking quite tight to the rear of Scars still. Henner's following neatly behind.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these guys go try and get past, and Scars' teammate Yasko has had another issue here. His Ferrari is into a wall. Not for the first time either. Those tyres, I'm surprised he's still on them. Kaibachini picks up a 3-second time penalty. His race is not going how he would have envisioned this at the start. Crampy not quite able to make the move on Scars. He's still very much within overtaking distance though, and we've already seen turns 3 and 4 useful overtaking spots before. Are we going to see it again? It doesn't look like it, but he's very much close enough for when they get out onto that DRS straight to open up that rear wing, use that extra speed to his advantage and just fly by the foreign. He just needs the exit out of turn 10.
Darren Alfie has passed Yasko, as Yasko's been struggling, of course. Darren Alfie not having the best session here in Russia today. Now we've got Crampy with the DRS on Scars.
It's going to be a lunge if he goes for it. He's not. He's smarter than that.
He's really biding his time here. Scars on the fresher rubber by a lap as well. Kick there from the Ferrari. Of course, if you're just tuning in, welcome, welcome. This is Tier 2 Misfits Racing League action. We have Tier 1 action in just an hour and 10 minutes time. So 70 minutes from now, we will be taking to the Russian circuit once again with the Tier 1 racers. Of course, if you're new, hit that follow button. We have a ton of racing action happening here on a regular basis. 5 league races a week, plus the Endurance Series, which is a 100% mock race, if you will, commentated and all. My name is Strifium. Of course, joining me from the UK is Mr. Unicorn, and we have got some rain expected in this race. Not entirely sure when it will be arriving, but there goes Cactus ahead of Little Bear, it would seem, for P12.
Yeah, Cactus. He pitted off of his mediums fairly early. He for soft tires, and he did get a wing change, but I don't think those softs are going to make it to the end of this race. In fact, I know they won't make it to the end of this race, so he's going to have to pit for another set of softs, but a nice position to gain nonetheless. And Crampy still hasn't found his way past Scars, but Hennes has found his way to the gearbox of Crampy.
Scars has been holding Crampy up a little bit here through this section. We've been on board riding along with Crampy, and coming through turn 13, there was a big lockup from Scars here. Now there's a bit of a slide coming out of Crampy, and things are getting dark quick here in Russia. So I don't know if we're going to see this rain in the next couple of laps, or if it's going to really extend like we've seen before.
I don't think Crampy's got just the exit he needs out of the straights. I think the important thing here is that maybe some of these drivers have overlooked is that these setups, in order to be fast down these straights, you need to have that good exit, and running as low a downforce as possible. It just seems that Crampy and a few other of these drivers' cars are just a little bit unsettled. We saw him have a little bit of a wobble out of that final corner, and I think that's why it's not that Scars is holding him up, it's just Crampy is not getting the exit he needs out of these corners into this DRS straights, and then maybe he's got less downforce, he's got that DRS, but because of that entrance, there's more catching up to do. And again, he's had a wobble, and now he's holding his teammate up. So you have to wonder what is going on in that Haas car and how this situation plays out. We've seen Crampy and Hennes playing along nicely so far, but if Crampy starts holding him up, but he's going to go up the inside of Scars here, a little bit of contact, and that's Hennes up the inside of the pair of them. They're 3 wide, that's Crampy losing out to both of them. Hennes up into P5, and well, Hennes is now free, but Scars has gone deep. Is that Crampy past the Ferrari? They're side by side coming out of turn 16 and coming into the penultimate corner. It is getting dark. Scars nicely defended for Crampy, but Hennes, look at him just steaming away. You can tell he was being held up.
Yeah, he's gone. And I imagine he's got quite the grin on his face as well. And Scars now has Crampy to deal with. Crampy, oh, he's not going to be too thrilled. He lost that much time to Hennes ahead, but now it's still a wheel-to-wheel exchange. They're still battling. Crampy's gone through the runoff area.
Well, it hasn't really costed time. That's what that sign's there for, to make sure you slow down and go through it, but Crampy's just sort of paraded through it.
Otters are just coming for fresh mediums. And we've got rain on the horizon. What?
Well, he started this race on mediums.
Yeah, so he's got to come in again for another compound.
Is that a mistake? I think that's a mistake, because Wisp, who Kodos has been battling this race, came in for softs on the previous lap.
Undertaker, Maxim. They've had an exchange. Maxim, I do believe, is holding off the Renault for 8th position at the moment on some 14-lap-old hards.
Yeah, I think Kodos made a big mistake with the tyres here. It's going to cost him big time in this race, but he is going to get Cactus going down. This DRS straight. Cactus is going to have to come in for a new set of tyres sooner rather than later, and I think he really needs to come in the next 2 laps or so. And if I was him, unless we start to see rain in the next, I don't think he can get to the rain. We've just heard on the radio that rain is 5 minutes away from the AlphaTauri garage, but whether Cactus can take these tyres to rain, and even when it starts raining, it's worth mentioning, just because it's raining doesn't mean it's time for intermediate tyres yet.
That's exactly it as well. Gadwin right now under major threat. It is the Red Bull versus the AlphaTauri. Wisp on very fresh soft compound tires. DRS overtaken utilization. He has a ton of traction right now. He's carrying. Are we going to see a lunge? It's tight between these two. It's still clean though. Gadwin with a very neat and tidy hold. You can see now with another move to the inside from the AlphaTauri this time. Very tight once again. Gadwin with good traction holding him off, and this isn't what Wisp wants right now at all.
No, not only does he want to be making places on these tires, he needs to be nursing them as well. His moves need to be clinical. He needs to just see the opportunity and go for it. Because right now, this is just causing him tire wear that he doesn't need. So,
ooh, a little bit of a cut there out of Wisp. 3 seconds for it as well. DRS for both of these drivers? No. Gadwin, no DRS on Little Bear ahead, which is very interesting to see. Actually, he's not using it, so maybe there's an issue. Something that isn't unheard of is DRS malfunctions for these drivers, and Gadwin, I imagine, is not too thrilled not having the DRS at his disposal. Kind of a slap you to Wisp, though, I have to say, that he wasn't able to get by. Cactus is recovering from an issue. He's going to be defending against both of these drivers. He's gone back to the inside. He got caught up with Gadwin there. Ooh. Not too good from Cactus. He's not going to be too thrilled about that, and he's just taking a 5-second into the pit lane as well. Crampy keeping up with Henners. We saw it the other way around for quite some time, and we saw Henners being held up, but it seems that Crampy, after dispatching Scars, well, been able to hold well with Henners.
yeah, he's definitely gonna want to finish ahead of at least one of the two Hasses, and I imagine His favourite would be Crampy there after the entanglement they had previously, but we saw Crampy struggle to get past. Are we going to see Scars struggle in the same way? And
this is going to be such a tight battle to the end between these drivers, and something that we haven't even taken into consideration yet is that, well, for starters, there's 20 drivers that began this race. There's 19 remaining. Squid, the only terminal DNF here so far. We have not had a full safety car. We still have the opportunity to have one. Things are quite tight, and things could get quite slick in a moment's time when the rain comes. Little Bear and Gadwin now exchanging. Gadwin, what a move from him, getting ahead of Little Bear, and it's Henners and Crampy exchanging. The two Haas drivers on their way down through turn 2, and now I believe it's Wisp that is going to be looking at the McLaren of Little Bear. Little Bear on the 7-lap-old mediums versus the softs. DRS will be at Wisp's disposal. Little Bear, however, will also have it.
yeah, and we've got to remember as well, we've got that raining coming. It's Cotters looking at Undertaker on the outside of turn 4. The Mercedes really powering down on the curbing there and getting that move done. He's up into 8th place. Whether that was within the realms of what he's allowed to do, I'm sure he might have picked up a warning for that one.
Little Bear under huge threat from Wisp right now. Wisp is showing a lot of pace on these softs in comparison to the McLaren ahead. We're coming into a very fast section of circuit where I think we may see Wisp go for a move into turn 13. Where we've seen it done so many times from these racers before. It is, of course, the end of the DRS straight here. Little Bear, will he have DRS on the car ahead? No, and look at how quickly he's dropping here.
Yeah, I think he's had a bad exit there.
Oh, well, Seajoss is just flowing straight through.
As well.
Yeah, that is a mugging if I've ever seen one. And now he's tapped Seajoss in the rear. End plate damage out of the McLaren.
I think Seajoss, Little Bear needs to be a little bit careful. He's on some excellent tyres right now.
That wing plate, that end plate coming off the wing. Kaibachini could be in a unique situation here. He's on these 10-lap-old mediums. Similar situation on tires to Little Bear. And should something happen, come in, get into some intermediates, but that's the big question. Are we going to see the intermediate compound tires? Wisp and Gadwin now. They are back together again on circuit, and it's Wisp hunting down the Red Bull.
Yeah, Cotter's had some sort of connection issue there as well, and that allowed Undertaker back through and has allowed the Renault to pull away as well.
Here we have Rampy and Henners doing their dance, and Gadwin holding off Wisp. Forgive me for switching cameras to the battle back here in comparison to the battle between the two Hasses, but they are training each other along right now, and we're going to see another overtake into turn 2 in a moment. Don't you worry.
Yeah, Campion has got breathing room to Scars, but as Wisp up the inside of Gadwin into turn 13, Gadwin on the inside, Wisp has that outside line there. If he's got the traction, this could be very powerful. We've seen it before where the outside line is the favourable one here. The Alpha Tauri showing that again here. But Gadwin's found some excellent traction on the outside. 15 laps on these medium tyres. And they're still working for it. But Wisp up the inside. Gadwin now down into 11. And where's Seajoss?
I think Gadwin's fine with this because he's had a spectacular exit. You can see it in comparison to Seajoss here. He's going to have the DRS as well on Wisp. Things are back in play for the Red Bull camp, and the DRS on that rear wing. Now to the outside. We have the perfect view of it. Here goes Seajoss looking at it. Gadwin around the outside holding traction with the mediums. He gets a beautiful move back done. And Seajoss is saying hello to Wisp as well. Around the inside, coming down through turn 3 into turn 4. Seajoss around the outside. Is Wisp going to hold this? This is so intense between these two, and I believe it's the softs that are really coming down to the fact that he's been battling here. And he's starting to lose traction versus mediums at the moment. He's just on the back foot. He needs to step off and rethink the situation. He has decent tires. He needs to cool things down.
Well, Sejos got a little bit boxed in, but then Gadwin pulled away and allowed Sejos to pull away too. Also, it's worth noting, it started raining here in Russia. And this is where things are going to get very, very interesting very, very quickly. Because
big lunge from the AlphaTauri up the inside of Sejos. Does he get this done? It was such a quick snap, and that's the AlphaTauri into 10th position. What a move! Whoa! Wow. That was beautiful, I have to say. Sejos gave him the space there. I think that Sejos did not have a serious answer for that. It was contact or wow. He snuck it right in the inside there, Unicorn. Right in the inside, and he's into the points, and now he's gonna have a run on Gadwin here. Well, I'd say he took a moment to reassess things, because now he's into 9th position ahead of the two drivers he was just fighting through this turn last lap around.
Yeah, Wisp right now, looking like he's on form. The problem I see Wisp having is these tyres, they're not going to be feeling too hot at the end of this race. And, well, it's raining right now. This track is going to get a little bit damp, at least, depending on how heavy this rain gets in the next 3 or 4 laps. But Wisp on dying softs is not going to be this quick anywhere near it towards the end of this race. So right now he has to do what he's doing now, putting his foot down, pulling out a gap. He hasn't quite broken DRS to Gadwin, I don't think. Gadwin has got it right now, but Wisp needs to make sure that Gadwin does not have it going down into turn 2, because otherwise he's in big trouble.
Liam has made a call to pit for softs here, Unicorn, and Mateo's hunting down Domi for lead of this race. Things are very tight.
I think Liam just wants a little bit of extra grip in these wet conditions, but it's not wet enough for the Inters, so he just wants the best tyre compound he can get for both worlds, and that's a fresh set of soft compounds. He's lost a couple places though. Can he get those back? Maxime on 21 lap old hards has had an excellent recovery drive after that incident on lap 1, now into 6th place.
Mateo's had an issue here. He's lost a significant amount of time. We switched off of him for a moment, and guess what, Unicorn? He's missing a front left end plate on that McLaren. He is struggling. He has damage, and this is not good for him, because the two Haas cars behind him are doing the tango with the DRS. Slick conditions are already going to give you a lack of grip. Now he's got a loss of downforce to go with it, and he's got to really gamble here. Now he's coming through the turn. He's gone past the pit entry. He had such a sizable gap. Unicorn. 24 seconds, and it's going to come down now, and the longer he takes to get in.
Well, he has a larger gap than 24 seconds. I just had a look at the penalty situation here. And Crampy and Henna's both about 12 seconds each. The rest of the top 10 pretty much clear. Wisp and Gadwin have them, but Gadwin's just been overtaken by Sejos. And Wisp only has about 3 seconds as well. So Crampy and Henna's, I don't think either of them are going to finish on this podium this evening. Well, it depends how well Scars can hold on, because I think Scars, if he goes well, or Liam as well, if he can catch up with the softs, they're right now within striking distance of these guys with the penalty situation. So the two Haas, they're running a fine line right now. They've been working together and they've been battling hard, but I think that's going to cost them the fact they've been battling a little bit too much here between each other. Visually they've got a huge gap to Scars behind, but in actual fact, Little Bear's retired. Is that in the pits?
I do believe that is in the pit lane. Yes, Little Bear has retired out of this race in the McLaren on lap 25.
Well, only the second retirement here as Cactus taps the rear of Kaibatini, not pulling out of the slipstream soon enough, and just carries too much speed. Kaibatini a little bit of love tap and isn't able to get past the Mercedes in what was a standout opportunity for him. But it is still softs versus mediums. only a few laps left here. He has every opportunity. Liam and Scars. Liam is caught up to the rear of the Ferrari, and this battle here could be at least Crampy's saving grace. Well, the two has it. Whichever one of them might be able to finish on the podium if Scars and Liam hold each other up enough. But Liam has dispatched Scars with a super clean move around the outside of turn 16, and Liam now, all he has to do, close that gap down below 12 seconds, keep himself penalty free. And
what's happened
it's
now?
home and dry.
Cactus has had a
Cactus is
major
in the wall.
issue. Yeah, that Renault major front right wing damage on that car. And Gadwin is still keeping well with Seajaws here. And Cactus takes a 3-second time penalty, and the rain is getting heavier. We've seen this rain dynamic so many times this season where it just gets to intermediate conditions on the last lap or just on the cooldown lap at the end of the race. We've seen the DRS get disabled and things like this, but you can see lap 26 right now, the penultimate lap of this race. DRS is still enabled for Gadwin as he looks for Seajoss, and this is going to be crucial for Gadwin in his hunt for points.
Yeah, this rain, you've just got to be careful now. A lot of these drivers, a few of them still locked in battles, but those who aren't, they might have got complacent. They might have just been in their groove. And this rain, you need to wake up at the end of these races, because if you don't, that's when you make that little mistake, because we're getting to that point. Freeway has just told us that Jeff on the team radio is starting to say that Inters are now the optimal tyre. You can see Crampy with a big slide. He's lost the position to Henners, and that could be Crampy's podium's host dash. You can see Liam's catching them like an absolute... There we go. DRS is disabled, just like you said, on the final lap.
Things are going to get torrential here real quick. This is China Tier 1. This is China Tier 1, ladies and gentlemen. This is about to get really heavy here, I think, in Russia. DRS is disabled, and things are getting heavier in these conditions. The dry tires, yes, you can see Liam. Look how much pace he's holding on these softs right now because of how old those tires are for the drivers ahead. He's taking chunks out of that gap. Look at how much he gains through turns.
He doesn't even need to gain any more. He's currently in third as far as penalties are concerned.
Seajoss on the inside now. He's making the call to come into the pit lane. What? Or was he? What? Seajoss, yes, so it's... I was so confused. Seajoss came into the pit lane while Extreme was making an advance for P11. And now he's made it ahead of Gadwin into P10, and he's on these 8-lap old softs. Wow. Out of nowhere.
Oh, this rain really has provided something else, and Liam, I think it's just a little bit too close to the end of the race, but one more lap, he would have got the Hasters on track, I think. He's gaining on them so quickly here. Gadwin, his teammate, is looking there are Cotters as well, but he's on 21 lap old mediums, but ahead of him, Extremes hit the wall. And that final points position has just been inherited by Cotters. Gadwin now on getting a little bit close to Extreme.
Domi has collected the checkered flag here in Russia. Round 17, he's won at Unicorn. Mateo now 23 seconds away is going to be looking to take P2. Henners, Crampy.
Crampy is getting overtaken by Liam, yeah. Crampy had another slide similar to what we saw a few laps ago, and now Liam, he did catch him on track.
This is very intense between these two. Look at the slide coming out of the Haas there. It's Liam on the inside now. Penalties. Where's Liam? Where's Liam? That's P3 for the Canadian. Domi, Mateo, Liam, your top three here. A Hungarian, French, and Canadian. A Hungarian, a Frenchman, and a Canadian on the podium here in Russia. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it?
Cotters has had an issue. Cotters is into the wall, and now that's Gadwin taking that final points position.
It's still up for grabs. Adrian's here.
Adrian, who's gonna get it? Adrian sliding his way around, and that's Gadwin back around the outside. But penalties could play a role. I only looked at the top 10 and these guys. Well, none of them were in it at the time, but now they well and truly are. Gadwin's going to be the one to cross in the position, but it's Adrian. Can Extreme do anything on penalties?
Can
He can
jump
get past Gadwin.
Sejoss on the intermediate compound tires. On the intermediate compound tires, it is the Alfa Romeo of Sejoss who has secured a individual point in Russia, ladies and gentlemen. And I have to say, if we had gone a few more laps, I think he might have just been in for some better points than that on the inters. Things are getting quite wet here. What a... Domi, Mateo, Liam, your top three here. We've got Henners, Scars, 4-5, Crampy in 6, Maxim B in 7th. That's Wisp in 8th, Undertaker in 9th, and Sejoss rounding out the top 10 for the points on the intermediate tires here for round 17. What a race that was. Of course, Unicorn. Wow. Wow. So we've got Tier 1 action coming up in 45 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen. 45 minutes time. We are going to, of course, as always, raid a member of the F1 stream community. We like to share the love here. So we are going to... Look at Domi. He has been on fire, Unicorn.
Yeah, he's been so strong, and I do believe someone was doing the maths, but he is now, especially with this win under his belt, now within range to win the championship in the next few races if he gets a win or two. I'm not quite sure on that. Hopefully, you know, I'll crunch the numbers, or someone could do that over the next few days before next week. But yeah, Domi, he's been so strong all season, and again, showing it there. Mateo, again, coming home behind the Hungarian. He's been good so far. He's joined, he's come, and he's threatened Domi, but neither time. He took the win last week on track, not making it this time. I also want to... Maxime B, he may have dropped 2 places, but the recovery drive from him, really good. And Liam as well. His strategy, hards to sots. He went... I want to get this right. How many laps did Liam do on those hards? He did 24 out of 27 laps on the compound of the race he started on. 3 laps at the end on the softs. And 11th to 3rd. That standout drive for me.
Well, he had 1 warning in Russia. 1. He made it all the way. He made it 24 laps on hards. 24 laps. 3 on the softs. And he collected a podium today from 11th on this grid in a very, very unique race. Superlative drive out of Liam. I'm not being biased when I say that, honestly. Domi as well. Great drive, Mateo. Solid job. We had a great display of racing from a great portion of this grid today. Stewards will have their hands full in some cases, I imagine. But of course, we hope you enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun, and I am very, very excited for Tier 1 action in just 45 minutes time.
Yeah, some really big climbers in that race. Scars, Wisp as well.
Big shout out to Rutanius. Thank you very much for your Twitch Prime. Greatly appreciate the support. To everybody who's followed, who's been watching along with the MRL action, we greatly appreciate you. We greatly appreciate all your support. You are why we do the streams. So thank you. It really, really means a lot. I will say that. With all that being said, though, Unicorn, we have Tier 1 action coming right up. We've got to raid somebody, so I'm going to of course, go through that and find somebody. Well, why don't you close us out of the stream here?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you so much, everyone who watched. Absolutely incredible race. Be sure to tune in for Tier 1 in just a moment as well. We've got the Club Division tomorrow night. That one is at 2 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. CST, and we've got an endurance race as well on Saturday. But thank you, everyone, for watching. Go and show some love to whoever Strif chooses out for the raid here in just a second. And as always, enjoy the absolutely epic outro that we have here at MRL. But that's all from us, and we'll catch you in the next one, guys.